Welcome, Alice. And
Hello.
I'm happy to have you to talk about tarot today.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk about 3 ways to unlock intuition with tarot. Before we do that, tell us who you are and what you do.
I am Alice Minty, founder of Minty Tarot. I am a tarot reader and tarot coach. And I am dedicated to tarot readers in the meaning that I help them to provide accurate and professional tarot readings so that they can go professional.
That's really cool, because if somebody's, looking to do that, who's new, this is absolutely perfect. So we're going to go through three challenges that you have seen, and anticipate somebody new would probably encounter when trying to read tarot. So let's just jump right in. What's the first one?
The first most common challenge I found among my students and other tarot readings, but especially at the beginning, is that they usually go blank when they are in front of the cards and they have nothing to say, okay? And that's quite common because sometimes they are in panic, especially in front of someone, a stranger, someone they don't know, okay? So they don't have a kind of pre-knowledge about the person and the querent, etc. So what I suggest in this case is to trust your intuition, but start from the description of the card. What's going on the card? I mean, let's say we have the Empress. So what she's doing, she's sitting. How does she feel? How does she look like? To me, she feels very relaxed in the middle of nature, very at ease in the environment, for instance. She has a lot of pillows. So she wants to be comfortable, for instance, no? And she's surrounded by nature. She has a lot of flowers and pomegranates on the dress. So that means something. So when you start to describe the cards, and not like just the Empress, that's an Empress, okay, but how she's dressed, what does she do, what are her intentions, try to imagine the feelings, the emotions, what she may think, what she wants in life. All this description of the card activates your imagination and your connection with the card. And at the end of the day, your intuition, your intuitive channels. So first you describe the card, then second step, check if there is in the card a particular symbol you may be attracted to. It may be the pillow, it may be the Venus symbol, it may be the tree, and check what it can mean for you, what reminds you of. And final, once you orally, be vocal, even in front of a stranger, when you read the cards to somebody, just if you don't know what to say, you just start to describe, we have the Empress, you see she's very relaxed, you see she's in nature, very comfortable. I see that there is this Venus symbol that reminds me of love for yourself, no? So I see that you are really at ease with yourself, with the environment you live in, etc., etc. So you connect as a first step what you see and the symbols you see and the connection you make in your mind with the situation of the querent. You look for connections, and that becomes a second nature for you if you start doing like that. It activates back the intuition. And especially if you don't know very well the meanings at the beginning, or maybe a card has a lot of meanings, so you don't know which one to pick up, no?
To me, that actually feels like a fail-safe, because you can go in and you don't need to be, prophesizing for the client. You're just looking at the card, describing, and that is sort of, in my mind, it's sort of like a warm-up to get, the connection to the intuition and the imagination. And then, I mean, even as you're talking, I'm like, oh, that feels so much better than needing to feel like you have to, you know, give some sort of psychic reading that has nothing to do with the, I don't know. I mean, as a new tarot myself, I just think that feels very relaxing to have this place to focus your attention.
Yeah. For a psychic, I guess it's better because you have something to trigger your intuition, no? For that, they actually are quite popular, I guess, as a tool. But I want also to say something. The best readings with the tarot come when you actually just focus on the cards and you don't know the people you are reading for, because you don't have the left brain part. I don't know if it's the left actually, or I mean the ego part that actually thinks better than your intuition what you have to say, because you know the guy in front of you now. That doesn't work. You don't really connect with the real situation of the person, because they may have problems you don't know, even if it's your best friend or your sister. So just focus on the card. That's the first thing.
Right. Instead of trying to extract something from the person, you just focus on the card.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. All right. What's the second thing?
The second thing is that actually you don't know if what you are saying is actually true. You know, that's a really common to everybody in general, also the professional ones. But you are afraid that your interpretation of the cards is wrong. Also because the tarot, a lot of divinatory tools are complicated, but the tarot have a lot of meanings, the cards, okay? Sometimes they can be also contradictory. I don't know, for instance, the Tower can be very scary. It can be actually very, very positive at the same time, no? So you don't know, how do I interpret this card? Is it true what I'm saying? That happens always when you are really not listening to the intuitive messages you get through the card. Now the cards are triggering your intuition. We have understood that, but you don't recognize it. That's because maybe you are not in a calm state of mind, or you don't know how to recognize them, no? Because they are very quick, very subtle. Maybe they pass by very, very, very quickly, and then you are just talking from your ego point of view at the same time. So what to do in this case? First of all, as a general practice, it's very important to be able to calm down your mind while you read the cards, like any other intuitive work. No, you have to practice every day or very often. I mean, you have to have a background of meditation somehow. You have to be able to calm down your mind, because otherwise your chit-chatting in the mind will just be too loud, no? Once you have this kind of ability, then I suggest that you focus on the first impression, the first thought, the first image that comes once you see the card. Because the first one usually is the most intuitive one. Then already 2 seconds after, there is the ego saying, no, it's wrong, it's something else for sure. Can be, no?
Right. Can you hold that card up again, the one that you said, I think it was a Tower? So if a new intuitive, if you guys are looking at this card, you know, what is your first interpretation? Because you said it could be positive, it could be negative, you know, and every attendee to the summit is going to look at that card and focus on something different. Is that correct? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of maybe at the end you'll pull just one card and we'll have them, you know, on the other side of the screen as they're watching the summit. They can try to read it, and then they connect with you in the Facebook group and ask for help or whatever. But yeah. So I think too that like the idea that you're doing it wrong is not just tarot. It's like any intuitive endeavor, you know, whether you're a spiritual coach or you're a Reiki master, it's like that idea that you're doing it wrong because you don't have the connection to the answer is, I think, what interrupts the process.
Yeah. Possibly, tarot has an advantage, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because the second step, in my opinion, first of all, you have to be able to recognize the intuitive impression you get first. But then you may also be able to get evidence from the cards. So what I'm doing and what I suggest to my students is to make sure to be able to connect all the cards of the spread together in order to make a story that describes the situation of the querent in a coherent way. It has to make sense, let's say, okay? So if one single card, let's say, doesn't make sense, you don't know in particular one card how to interpret it, choose the interpretation that is more in line with the others. So somehow it's important to be able to read the cards together. Sorry, my dog. To read the cards together to make a coherent story.
How many cards are you pulling at a time?
It depends on the question. If it's usually I pull a small amount of cards if the question is, if the answer is simple. Let's say an advice, extra advice, what to do in this situation can be 2 cards. If you want to describe more or less an evolution of the situation, 3 cards. And then I usually use blocks of 3 cards per position. Then you can do, there are a lot of spreads with a lot of position, but I never use one single card per position. I use 2 or 3 cards per each one, because for me it's important that all together they connect and I'm able to make a story, like a comic.
That's really important, actually. That makes a lot of sense to me, that like one card is one aspect of a story structure that you're trying to form. So you need more pieces of the story, which is tuned into by your intuition by having more cards. So you're picking out pieces of whatever questions you're trying to answer, information you're trying to get from these different cards that forms a unique story for that person, question, concept they're wanting to know more about, correct?
Yeah, somehow, if you use more cards per position, let's say a 3 position spreads is past, present, and future, okay? Or problem, obstacle, and solution, let's say, no?
Mm-hmm.
If you have 2 cards at least per position, the second card, whichever 2 cards, if they have to give a coherent message together, helps you to choose the right meaning for each of the 2 cards, because they have to get the coherent story together.
Are you reading them always left to right, or can you go?
Depends.
Okay. Right to left, upside down, that type of thing.
Within 3 card spread, for instance, I'm looking for what I call I don't know, stream of energy.
Yeah.
The meaning that according to which card attracts me most, and then the directionality of the other cards, and check where it's going. And where it's going, the origin is the start, the origin of the story, and I follow the direction. I may have also spreads that have a box of 9, 12 cards, and then I check It's easier done than said, to be honest. It looks very difficult, but at the end of the day, it's just a question of practice.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it looks more easier now to do like that than just to have one card per past for the past, and it can be everything, you know. Instead, if I put two, okay, already unlock the meaning. Yeah.
That is really helpful for me as a new person to tarot. I find that just incredibly helpful because I understand story structure a lot.
Yeah.
So that to me frees me up to be like, all right, if I'm just looking for a story structure of some kind, I can relax and put my intuition to work and say, well, what are we trying to discover? What is this story about? You know, that type of thing. That feels really freeing to me personally.
I think it adds also for people that have clairvoyant abilities, but also people that works with words somehow, no, or storytelling in general. So I just see the story.
And I recently began to understand that the reason we relate to story is because story is literally in our DNA. It's how we create meaning, and story is the most powerful way to create meaning that's memorable, that's relatable. So that was like a big ding dong for me right there that you said story structure, because it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, tarot readers are for sure storytellers, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's
I
really cool.
that you are here like an hero, no? You are here, but there is an obstacle, and then you have this opportunity, and then if you continue on this path, you may fail and then change path, or you will succeed and then continue.
It sounds like Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey, where there's a story arc to it, right? There's the obstacle, climax, and then choice, right? The pinnacle point of choice and what you're going to do. So in every tarot card reading, there's probably this story structure of, you know, obstacle, choice, pinnacle point, climax, and then come back down to what are you going to do? How are you going to resolve it? That's really cool.
And then you have like a fairy tale, no? There is always the hero going on the world as an adventurer, no? Like the fool, and then you have different encounters, and someone gives you a gift, and someone gives you a problem, and etc., etc.
That's really cool. So, okay, what's the third thing?
The third one is when basically you struggle to read some cards because they are falling into specific positions in the spreads, or when you are reading specific sectors. What I mean, sometimes you have spreads. You don't need a spread actually, but let's say it makes your life easier sometimes. Spread with position like advice, no? Or obstacles, let's say, that helps you to understand your situation, the situation of the current. But what happens if you have a very bad card as an advice position, or you have a very good card as an obstacle? Okay, then this happens, even couple of cards, let's say, together it's a bad match, let's say. That happens actually because let's say there is a tradition especially in the books for tarot, let's say to give meanings to the cards. Okay, so this card means that, and this one means that and that. But actually, we have to understand the energy of the card, which is neutral. Okay, and this means that there are not really bad cards and not really good cards. Exactly, a professional tarot reader should be able to read the bad card, apparently bad card, as a positive advice, and the opposite. I make an example. For instance, this one. Usually it's considered a bad card because there are people falling down, or there is a lightning that breaks the tower. But it can be, for sure, the energy of this card is neutral. What does it mean? It's simply something surprising that can be as a positive event, and also something that is a aha moment, a breakthrough, or putting down some cage, you say in English, cage, no? That limits
Mhm.
you, some limiting belief. So if it's an advice, in an advice position means just break down your limiting belief, break down this cage that traps you, break down, just put down everything and start over, start again. No? As a bad card, for sure, it's something that is scaring or can, you know, the energy, as again, this is a neutral energy. You can, it's something new that puts down your life or an aspect of your life, but you can take it well or you can take it bad. It's up to you. That's the point.
Right. I think that is outstanding advice, not only for tarot, but for life in general. Because when you think, and I think that as beginners, like you take it, if you're reading a card on tarot and it's telling you there is bad and you have to read the bad, or there is good and you have to read it good, it can be very limiting or scary for the person. But if you're saying, no, you need to extract from the card, even what is, you know, what you have been trained to think is bad, the good from it, to benefit the client that you're working with, to create a story that has not just negative, but turn a negative into a positive, is incredible advice. I mean, that's just life in general too.
You know, talking again about storytelling, you know, the story ends, but because they want to end it, then it goes on.
Mm-hmm.
So it may end in a tower, but you don't know what happens after. It can be the first step to a new beginning, much better than before, you know?
Right.
The prince and the princess, they live together happy, and then maybe after 2 years, just they get bored of each other. You never know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a story for this period of time.
Yeah. Well, think about a really well-written fiction novel. The chapter always ends on a thriller, right? Because you want to know what the next chapter, and the next chapter recognizes and addresses the challenge, and then it ends on a thriller, and it goes, okay. So the chapters kind of go like that as well. In a well-written story, it always ends on a question mark, on a what's going to happen, you know?
Yeah, maybe that's a good advice also. End your reading with a question mark. What will happen after?
Exactly.
Another card, for instance, that is always considered positive is the 10 of Cups, for instance. It can be an obstacle. Maybe this community that is surrounding you are very sweet, but they may be not respecting your boundaries, for instance, or not be a little bit too close to you, and you feel in a cage, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
So not everything that is heart and happy ending actually is the best option for you.
Right. Well, and it's not realistic too, because life is full of every single day challenges that then wake up tomorrow and you got to figure out what the solution is. And so it literally is that sort of roller coaster of challenge, solution.
Exactly. And this challenge of tarot readers is derives basically on the rigidity of the way they learn tarot. The tarot cards are very flexible. At least I see them very flexible. I don't know. They're very flexible. And in particular, the ones drawn by Pamela Coleman-Smith that made these cards are really double face, let's say. They look positive at start, but then if you think about, there is always a details that doesn't make sure the interpretation, okay? And also the the different interpretation according to the different authors in the past and right now, they always give a different, slight different interpretation of each card. So you have a multiple of a way to see a single card in a very different, under a very different perspective. And that's actually an help for the intuition, because at least with tarot, the more you, if you use the meanings, let's say, that you find in the books as a Bible, let's say, okay, as the law of Moses, then you basically put boundaries to your intuition, and intuition should be able to flow freely. That's how I see it, because the more I say, if I really insist that this card is just positive, you know, there is a happy family, and it comes in a negative position, let's say as an obstacle, I struggle to understand it. If I admit that life is, that tarot cards are complex and very flexible tools to reflect a life that in itself is complex. So the intuition is really flowing freely. So the less boundary, the better, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And that's my whole mantra, is you get to decide the interpretation. There should not be a, this is the way it's have to be. Otherwise you're stuck. And that can create a sense of probably anxiety when you're trying to read when you're new. If you think there is an answer that you have to have based on some book you read that said, this is the way it is. It's like, no. Yeah,
you have to get them as suggestion also, because it's so personal, no? The relationship with your intuition. A last example I want to give is, for instance, a typical question is, what do I do if I have a lot of pentacles in a love reading, for instance? No, pentacles are about work, finance, material aspect of life. No, that's another rigidity, mental rigidity, because you have to think that the energy of the card is neutral and can help in any different aspect of life, because we are not living in departments that are close to each other. No? So material life is important also for love and relationship sectors of life. For instance, this is an 8 of Pentacles, and it's related to someone that is working, a crafter, let's say, no? So if it comes in a love relationship, how do you interpret it? You want to try?
I mean, so in a love relationship, I would say there's stuff that needs to be worked on.
For instance, exactly. Basically in a very serious way, taking care of details, no? It's a routine, no? It's something that you have to, that's all. Doesn't matter if it's related to pentacles and it's not about cups or whatever. We don't have to be rigid, because otherwise the intuition doesn't flow freely.
Yeah, well, it's probably better that I know not. I've never read a book that's about tarot that probably helps, and I'm like, oh, okay. I think it means this, therefore that's what it means. Can we do one more thing? Can you pick a card, whatever card that you think, you know, sort of intuitively is a great card for the new attendees to kind of take a jump at, even though this is just a two-dimensional, you know, conversation. They're not in here with us, but that you can kind of guide them through using these 3 steps. So pick a card and we'll be like, all right, so if you don't know what it means or you're blank, here's what you're going to do.
I choose one. Okay. For instance, that's a nice one. These are the star. This is the star card. So the first struggle was I'm blank, you know, I don't know what it is. Actually, it's strange. So you start by describing the card. There is a woman that is naked, completely in nature at night, and she's drawing the water into the water, by the way,
Mhm.
or into the ground, you know? So how does she feel? Why she's naked? She looks
Mhm.
like to me like a hippie, you know, this
Yes.
nudist.
Uh-huh.
Exactly. So she's very at ease with herself. She doesn't care about the opinion of others. She's under the stars, so she's kind of blessed. No, she feels to be blessed, and she's giving a lot. No, the water that giving, let's say, it seems also something useless, no? Because she gives water to the water, but actually she wants to give what she has, and even more, because you never stop needing something. So she knows that, and she wants to give more to the others.
Mhm.
And also to be naked means that she wants to show herself to the others. She doesn't have barriers.
You know,
Okay?
it's interesting when I look at this and I'm thinking, okay, new to a psychic endeavor, new to tarot, the nakedness to me represents having to fully be present in something that you might not be comfortable in, which is connecting with your intuition in a way that's very revealing, right? It's sort of like you're revealing yourself as a psychic, as an intuitive. And when you're new, that can feel like you're naked. It can, because you're not used to it.
Exactly. So that's a really a nice card for people that want to connect with their intuition. That's true.
Yeah, and I look at the sun, I'm like, I mean, it reminds me of the light being that you are. Your intuition is the light that you are, and you're sharing it. And water is literally what you're made of. So it's like it's the essence of life itself, which is intuition's connected through it all. That's what my interpretation was. But I wanted to hear. So if you guys as viewers have an interpretation, put it in the Facebook group. You know, you can tag Aless. And then, you know, you can talk about it. You know, you can have a little conversation about the card.
Perfect. Thanks a lot.
Well, this is good. So tell people where they can get a hold of you and what you got going on.
I have a Facebook profile, also a page, but which is Minty Tarot, but I use mostly my personal profile, Alice Minty. Then I have a YouTube channel where I teach tarot and do also pick a card reading sometimes, but mostly teach tarot. And it's in Italian, but with English with subtitles. And then what else? A Facebook group as well.
Mhm.
Yes.
Do you do individual readings for people or online?
I do individual readings mainly by video, recorded video. I prefer because it's easy for me to organize myself. But I want to support especially tarot reader in improving their tarot reading skills, let's say, and to really go professional.
Which is perfect, because that's what this is about. Because if someone wants to do that, then this is perfect. So thank you so much for doing this. I found it incredibly valuable. I want to go pull my cards out and start reading. I feel like I absolutely learned some solid skills as a new person to tarot. So thank you so much.
Thank you a lot. Ciao.